In terms of today, I'm reminding you, if you have not already, please check in on campus. I have start here activities just for you to get to introduce yourselves a little bit. Make sure you have purchased the book and have started reading chapter 1 because it's what we're covering today. Now, guys, we have 2 assignments that are due next Friday. We've got the LinkedIn assignment and the 5 environments of business. LinkedIn is definitely going to be due next Friday. 5 environments of business, however, we're not going to, I probably am going to push the due date back on that because I want to have adequate time to cover it in class. So the biggest thing I want you to be concerned about is LinkedIn, which we're going to be covering today. Guys, we're also going to be covering probably 5 environments of business Monday or Tuesday next week. Here's the trick. Anytime in this class, if we don't cover the material adequately, I generally will move due dates back. So we're going to be covering LinkedIn. Yes, sir.
In the grades, see November 26, 2015.
I'm sorry, what are you looking at here? You know what happens is sometimes there's some legacy stuff from older classes that pops back up. Don't worry about it. It's one of these things, I hate to admit this, but I'm still cleaning up some of that stuff because we switched systems, and sometimes it still pops up. If I don't mention it in class, don't even worry about it. Good question, though. All right, guys, you have your first extra credit opportunity coming up next Wednesday. Check this out. This guy, Mark Avalone, is the president of Potomac Wealth Advisors. More importantly, this guy is a financial advisor who is regularly on CNBC, Fox Business, and NPR. I mean, this is a big-name guy we have coming to campus. He's going to be talking about the state of the political economy. We talk a lot in this class, we'll be talking a lot in this class, about how politics and business cross over. If you need CES, you get a CES credit for this. Well, here's the trick. You show up for this and you sign in or swipe in, I'll give you 2 bonus points on our first test in this class just for listening to this man speak. Get a chance to see somebody who's nationally televised, who's an expert in the world of business and the economy, and you get 2 bonus points. I'll remind you on Monday about it. JFK Auditorium, Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. But we're going to talk a little bit about some current events before we get into today's work. Guys, the U.S. Senate is moving forward what we refer to as the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Now, guys, this was a replacement for a trade agreement we called NAFTA, which was the North American Free Trade Agreement. Guys, between the United States, Mexico, and Canada, we are each other's biggest trading partners. For example, in the United States, what are some of our biggest exports to other countries? What are things that we make in the United States that we send out? I'll give you a hint. We have a very large country with lots of soil. What might we export? Any guesses?
Soil.
I'm sorry?
Soil.
Not soil, but corn, food, grain. They used to call the United States the breadbasket of the world. We also, however, do a lot of trade with Mexico and with Canada. So back in the 90s, we basically said, look, since these are 2 of our biggest trading partners, and they buy a lot from us, and we buy a lot from them, why don't we get rid of tariffs? Why don't we have friction-free commerce between these countries? Now, for example, if we compare the standards of living between the United States and Canada to Mexico, generally speaking, who has a higher standard of living, or who has the least high standard of living? In terms of money, pay, all these sorts of things. Of those 3 countries, where could you expect to make the least? Yes, exactly right. So let's say, for example, we started this free trade agreement where we say we're going to speed up commerce between these countries. Who would be happy about this? Who are people who would be happy about free tariff-free trade? Yeah, companies for sure, right? Company owners. People who are selling products, goods, and services, for example, would be very happy about this. Is there anybody who might be unhappy about this? Yes. Exactly right. Let's think about this for a second. If you have an opportunity to make a product or service where you're paying somebody $45 or $50 an hour, like auto workers make for General Motors, or you have an opportunity to pay somebody $7 or $8 an hour, like a lot of auto workers are making in Mexico. If you're a company that makes cars, what's going to be more attractive to you on that aspect? It's a linear equation, guys. Who are you going to go to? Come on, speak back to me here. You're going to go to Mexico. Exactly right. Guys, the largest SUV that's commonly purchased in the United States, the big rolling SUV, what am I talking about? The biggest of the big. Suburban is made in Mexico. It is the most American, quote-unquote, American SUV. It's made in Mexico because it's cheaper to make it there than it is to make it in Detroit. So the labor unions were not happy about this agreement. Companies were. As a result of this agreement, a lot of manufacturing left the United States in the 90s into the 2Ks, and we had a lot of people who used to work in factories who aren't being employed anymore. Some of the changes that are being pushed for basically are we're going to have to make sure auto workers are making at least $16 an hour. And that means if you're making cars in Mexico, General Motors or Ford, you're going to have to pay a higher rate. By the way, the average rate for a General Motors employee in the United States is $45 an hour. So you have somebody with a high school education working in a factory in a union job who does make a very high wage. One of the things, for example, that the United States was pushing for was to get more agriculture and dairy into Canada, because Canada has very strict, understandably, protections for their agriculture and their business. And they also have said basically the old standard was to be a tariff-free automobile. You had to use at least 62.5% American parts. The new standard is going to be 75%. Guys, my point to all of this, in some ways, this new trade deal really isn't that significant, but in some ways it is. Moving from 62.5% North American parts to 75% doesn't sound like much, but it is significant. Making sure that auto workers are being paid $16 an hour might move some work back to the United States. But is it still a far cry from $45 an hour? Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see in the long run how this trade deal pans out. Any thoughts, guys? If you were negotiating these kinds of deals, what would be some of the concerns you would have?
Is Donald Trump doing that?
He is. Yep.
I wouldn't be worried about none of that. I'd be worried about watching his team just kill the president.
Tell me more about your comment here.
Why is he worried about trade when we about to go to war?
Well, it's an interesting point. And guys, the one thing I think you'll start to discover on this stuff is that we've got multiple things going on. This trade deal's been in the works for a couple of years, and there's more people than just the president making these decisions. But you're right. We've got a lot of stuff going on right now that's going to affect the way we do trade and the way we're occupying our place in the world. The whole instance you're talking about, I assume you're talking about the military leader of Iran that we just assassinated 2 weeks ago. Is that what we're talking about?
Why did he do that?
That's a good question. Let me add the caveat before I answer the question that because it's not a political science class, these are my opinions, and don't take them as professional historical opinions. The guy who was taken out definitely was somebody who was considered to be an enemy of the United States. The question of whether or not we should be conducting assassinations of political figures on third-party country soil is one I question the wisdom of that decision as well. I don't know if that was a good thing for us in terms of our place in the world. Anybody else have an opinion? I'm glad to speak with you about that stuff anytime, though. In terms of the way it affects things in this country. Why did that happen in the first place? A lot of that involves a trade agreement, or I should say, a trade embargo we've had with Iran in the first place, trying to pressure them to stop a nuclear program, and it's a very complex issue. But I'm glad to talk with you about it outside the confines of our 50 minutes together. But it's a good question. Guys, by the way, one point I will make before we get into the work we got to do today. If you have political opinions about things, please feel free and comfortable to share them. I will never tell you what you should think about something or who you should vote for. I will say I hope all of you vote, and I will also say in the United States in particular, we need more young people to be playing a role in politics. If you guys are making your voices heard, you'll see fewer people who are not representing your opinion making those kinds of decisions. So please get out and vote if you're not doing so already. While I'm passing these forms out, well, any questions, guys? Questions or comments? Somebody better be getting up. Their alarm's going on. Okay, here we go. Sir.
We're going to test the house, going to be here 30 minutes late.
Yeah, that would basically say if you're manufacturing cars in North America and you want tariff-free exports between countries, your workers have to be paid $16 an hour. And that in the United States, that's not a rich wage. In Mexico, however, that's a pretty good living wage. And so that's another thing we're going to be talking about in
Oh,
this
yeah,
process.
yeah.
Is the concept of
Oh, yeah,
cultural
yeah.
development.
That's just wrong.
Especially when we get into companies like Nike and how they do business. Here we go.
No, it's 2:30.
Guys, what I'm going to be asking you to do is to take a look at this form. We're going to go through this together. What I'm giving you is instructions about how to create a LinkedIn page. And I'm going to show you today how to create your own LinkedIn. Now, guys, you got an extra? Yeah, all right. Guys, LinkedIn, some people refer to it as basically a professional social network. For those of you who have LinkedIn pages, why should we have LinkedIn pages? What is the purpose of having a LinkedIn page? Yes, sir.
Get your name out there.
Yeah, make sure you have a professional presence for sure. Are there other good reasons to have a LinkedIn page? Yes. Absolutely correct. We can build our network. Yes.
I don't have business cards for online.
That's a great description. It's your online business card. Absolutely. Are there other good reasons to have a LinkedIn page? Guys, yes.
You can kind of go more in depth than you would with a resume.
For sure. You can tell more about yourself. And on top of all this stuff, too, guys, you might just get recruited from having a LinkedIn page out there with skills that somebody's looking for. Yes, sir.
So this is just a question on it. Like, what if I feel like, how do they avoid people from like lying about like accomplishments and stuff like that on there?
You guys are asking great questions already, guys. In terms of lying about an accomplishment, there's nothing to stop you from lying about it. However, most people will get found out. Here's the reason why. In 2020, if you go for your first job, do you think they're going to do a background investigation on you? They probably are. They're probably going to check your social media, and they're definitely going to check references. If you have lied on your resume, you probably will get caught. Here's a true example from the early part of the 2000s. The guy who was the CEO of Yahoo, which Yahoo's nothing now, but it was a big deal in the early 2000s, lied about having a master's degree he didn't have. The board of trustees found out, and he got fired. So even if you can be the head of a multi-million-dollar company, if you lie about something on your resume, you get caught, it can have negative consequences. But your question was excellent. Guys, what I'm going to do today to kind of get you in on LinkedIn is walk through my personal LinkedIn page with you to show you what we're talking about here. So guys, in terms of LinkedIn, again, this is a professional social network. Why you should care about LinkedIn is a way that you can put your personal brand out there. It's a way you can associate with people who you want to associate with. Guys, we are the company we keep, meaning you want to associate with positive quality people. It also gives you an opportunity to promote your accomplishments and tell people what you're all about. Now, guys, if you go on the back sheet, the back of the sheet tells you everything I'm asking you to do. Please turn this over to the other side. Follow along with me. I'm asking you to do the following things, guys. If you look at the scoring rubric, it says the grading rubric for the assignment is as follows. You get 5 points just for creating a profile. If you already have a LinkedIn profile, great. You already got 5 points. The second part of this thing is I'm asking you to put up an appropriate profile picture. Can somebody tell me what might constitute an appropriate picture? Yes, sir.
Your graduation picture?
No, not so much. Unless if you have a graduation cap on, no. If it's a nice picture of you in a suit, absolutely. So it all depends. Like things like graduation photos and wedding photos, you want to steer away from unless they look very formal. So not so much. It's a good guess though. What else constitutes a good-looking LinkedIn photo? What image do you want to convey? Yes.
Like obviously wearing something formal-ish in the picture, and you want to like include, you want to be able to see what you look like.
Absolutely correct. And for example, I know it's hard to see on the screen up here. Guys, that's an older picture of me which I need to update. But from that terrible picture of my face, what image am I conveying? If you didn't know me at all, what image would I be conveying? Yes.
Happy guy.
I like to think I'm a pretty happy guy. Do I look approachable? Yeah, it's different. If I were on my LinkedIn page and my picture were something like, would anybody call me for a job? Not unless they're looking for somebody to haunt a house, you know? So no, they wouldn't call me. So your LinkedIn profile picture, what are things you should avoid in your LinkedIn profile picture? Yes.
Any hand gestures that aren't very professional. So
Yeah.
Like you can't be in a LinkedIn picture like with your middle finger like this is something you gotta look professional.
I agree with you completely. And probably with your profile picture, you won't even see your hands anyway. So, but I agree with you. Is there anything else you should avoid in your LinkedIn picture? Yes? Yeah, absolutely. You want the emphasis to be on you, for sure. There are other things you should avoid. Yes?
Obviously, anything illegal.
For sure. If you got somebody who is drinking underage or using specific products, yeah, you don't want that in your picture. Anything else you should avoid? Guys, things to avoid, these are literally things I've had to correct people about. Swimwear, that's not a good thing to put in your LinkedIn picture. I had one guy who submitted a shirtless picture on his LinkedIn profile, and unless he was trying to promote his amazing pecs, it really wasn't getting him a job. Other things to avoid, again, graduation photos, prom pictures, avoid that stuff. Because you guys are all in the early stages of your career, do you have to have a suit and tie or a formal outfit on? No, absolutely not. Let me give you an example. By show of hands here, how many of you are playing a competitive sport here at St. Francis? Guess what? Your headshots are awesome for this stuff. If you got a high quality headshot, use it. Absolutely. Put it up there. And it also shows your affiliation with your school. It's a great thing to do. So we covered the picture. If we look down, for example, an appropriate or brief profile headline has been added. Well, here's my brief profile headline. Assistant professor at St. Francis University. That's what I do. And so your title might be something like student athlete at St. Francis University, or accounting major at St. Francis University, or computer science major at St. Francis University. It's whatever however you want to promote yourself. Then we get down to what we refer to as a summary statement. Now here's my summary statement. I'm going to make it larger so you can see it. Your summary statement is basically kind of like your biography. It says everything that you've done so far. If you wanted to know about me. Now mine is a dense paragraph. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. But it tells my history, what I did in my career, where I think my credibility comes from. Your paragraph may not be as long as mine because you're younger than me. You maybe haven't worked as many jobs. That's okay. If you have not worked a job at all, that's okay too. What you're doing here is telling people about yourself. What are things, because you're all college students, what are things that a potential employer might want to know about? What might they be interested in finding out about you? Yes?
Maybe your GPA.
Yeah, if you got a great GPA, promote it. Absolutely. Yes?
Volunteer service.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a passion for service. What does that tell an employer about you?
Like that you want to help the community.
Yeah, you're involved. What else might an employer want to know about? We talked about it. Yes? Yeah, absolutely. For example, if I really enjoy working in Microsoft PowerPoint, I can create web pages, for example. I want to list that. What else might an employer care about? I want to know a little bit about you. I'd want to know, hey, does this person enjoy, what hobbies do they have? What do they enjoy doing when they're not working? That tells us about a person's character. If we move on down, it says a personalized URL has been added. Now, a URL just means a web address. Now, look up here. My web address is linkedin.com/in/Kent P. Taunton. My middle name is Patrick, for example. That's an easy address to remember. You can claim your own custom address. Let me show you how to do that. And guys, this is one of the things that people make mistakes on all the time. When you are on LinkedIn, you see where this link says Edit Public Profile and URL. I can go in here and I can actually change what my web address is. When you sign up for LinkedIn, it will give you a default web address, and it has a bunch of numbers on the end of it. Why is that not a good web address for you? I'm sorry? It is, man. Like if this was, LinkedIn/in/KentPTonka123467891101112, nobody's going to remember that. Now, when you claim your address, you may say, if you have a common name, somebody may have already claimed it. You can do things like you can add your middle initial. You can put your school after it. I might be Kent Tonkin SFU. I can put something like Kent Tonkin HR because I'm an HR professor, for example. Any of this stuff. Make it easy to remember. You get points just for that. Okay, if we get to the experience section, this is one that people sometimes have trouble with. For example, if you have never worked a job in your life, are there other things that could count as experience? If you've never had a job, what else could count as experience? Yes, sir?
Volunteering somewhere.
You better believe it. If you have volunteered, if you've done activities with your church, with your school, with a youth group after work. All that's good stuff. If you don't have significant work experience, don't worry about it. Play up what you have done. When you're listing what you have done, however, you want to be able to list why that stuff's important. For example, on mine, I list that I have been an instructor of human resource management, management, and information systems. I started in 2014. It shows I've been here for over 5 years, going on 6 years. And I tell people a little bit about what I did. How many of you, by show of hands, will somebody volunteer a job that they worked in high school?
IHOP.
IHOP, that's a fantastic example. Tell me about some of the things you learned at IHOP.
I served and got tips.
Yeah, it's a tough job though, isn't it?
No,
Well, in terms of, you ever deal with a difficult customer?
I never really had a difficult customer.
For real?
No, not really.
Okay.
I worked there for like 3 months and I quit.
Are you okay? Well, the bottom line is you still learn
I
something.
did get tired of making milkshakes though.
Yeah? Well, I wouldn't want to make milkshakes every day either. But
Yeah, that's bless me.
what is something you learned from that experience? You work with people, whether you know it or not. You're exercising communication skills,
Oh yeah.
exercising interpersonal skills, and you're helping run a business, man. That's all good stuff to put in your experience section. Excellent experience. Who else worked a job in high school? What did you do? Burger King. Same deal. Were you working the counter? Were you working as a cook? Okay, what did you learn from that experience?
I learned how to work with other people on the team.
That's a fantastic, yeah. If you're putting on, I worked in a team environment, at times did you have to negotiate with people? Like, I want tomorrow off, you want Saturday off, let's work this out.
If I called and I said I ain't coming today, can you take my hours? They just say yeah.
Wow, pretty nice. I would still say playing up the fact you worked in a team environment puts you ahead of other people who never had a job. Does anybody else here work a high school job? Yeah, what did you do?
Watch it.
Fantastic example. What did you do there?
I help with the kids and stuff like that. Like I'll take them, they'll go play at the park or something like that. Like you basically just had to watch the kids. Like there was room for the kids. Like you would go there, but if they got tired of that, then you had to like take them to the little playground, stuff like that.
It's hard to keep those kids occupied, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have short attention spans. That kind of stuff on a resume says you know how to manage people, even if they're kids. The kids are more difficult than most people. We had a hand up back here. What did you do?
Martin's grocery store.
Oh, okay. So what part of the store were you working at?
When I was a minor, I was a cashier, but then when I turned 18, they transferred me to the service desk in the pharmacy.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fantastic idea because you've worked in multiple parts of the organization. You can emphasize everything you learn. And in the pharmacy department, is there a higher level of responsibility there?
Yeah, you have to take like some course. You have to take like a 6-hour course, and understand privacy laws and stuff like that.
The very fact that you are already have experienced HIPAA in your life is something to put on your experience section. So again, anything you've done, put it on there. Now, one of the things I'm also going to be asking you to do, guys, is to emphasize your student affiliation. If you went to school at St. Francis University or you are in school at St. Francis University, put that down as part of your education. For example, I'm homegrown, man. I did my bachelor's degree here at St. Francis, got out and then did my master's here before I started my doctoral work at North Central University. Proud alum. Put your stuff on there. Again, if you have volunteered, you can list that as experience as well. If you've won an award, whether it was academic, athletic, service, whatever, put it in here. All that stuff emphasizes that you're engaged in your community. So we're down right now to number 8. I'm going to ask you to send me a connection request. So you're going to look me up through LinkedIn and send me a request to connect with me. Now here's the deal, guys. After the class is over, you can choose to remain connected to me or not. I'm always glad to be connected to my students. But send me the request. That confirms that you've created your profile. I'm also going to be asking you to join a LinkedIn group. Now, LinkedIn groups are groups that you're interested in. For example, by show of hands here, who are my accounting majors? All right, who are my marketing majors? Got anybody in management? All right, guys, whatever your major is, I'm asking you to either join a group or follow a group. For example, if you look at my groups that I'm a part of, I'm part of social media, I'm part of the music industry network, I love the music business, and I'm part of a few HR groups. To find a group, for example, if we go back up to the top of the LinkedIn page, actually we'll go back to our login page. Let's search, for example, for management consulting. There we go, management consulting. And here we can see that there are a number of individuals who list themselves as management consultants. So we're going to make that a management consulting group. And these are companies that we can follow. And right now, for example, these are all individuals. Let's go to current companies. Or, I'm sorry, in groups. So right now I could join the Global Management Consulting Group. I can join the Performance Management Group. I can join our Law Group. Pick at least one group that you're interested in and join that group. Now then you've also got number 10. You get 10% of your grade just by getting this submission in on time. Now make a note of this, guys. This is the way you confirm that you completed the assignment. Your LinkedIn URL, your web address for your page, you're submitting that to me through Canvas so I can go and hit your page. That's proof that you have completed the assignment. And finally, number 11, 20% of your grade on this is making sure your writing and grammar is correct. Now, guys, I go through your profiles with a fine-tooth comb and I correct this stuff. Now, here's the trick. Let's say, for example, you submit your LinkedIn page and you get 80% out of 100%. I will tell you what to fix. And if you fix it, I will give you full credit. There's no reason everybody in this class cannot get 100% on this assignment and have a killer profile by the time you're done. So that's the basics on this assignment, guys. What questions do you have? Questions on this assignment? All right, let's say you don't have a good-looking profile picture. How can you get one? Take one. Let me give you an example. See this nice blue wall over here? That's a wonderful background for a profile picture. So have your friend take a picture, put on a collared shirt or a nice sweater, have your friend take it against this backdrop or the brick wall, for example. That's a nice backdrop. Make a nice profile picture. If you don't have one, use your smartphone to make one. I also encourage you to download the LinkedIn app for your smartphone as well. It's a great way to keep up to date. So, going once. Any questions? Going twice. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get into the material for today. But if you have any questions about this stuff, I will gladly answer them for you at any time. So before we jump in, though, for today, guys, we're going to be, it's 9:30. We're going to go right to 9:50 today. And we're going to start off by where we picked up last time. Guys, we start talking about standards of living. Because here we are in the United States, the land of plenty. Will somebody tell me in their own words, when I say a standard of living, what am I talking about? If I say we enjoy a high standard of living, what do I mean? Yes, sir.
Like the way you want to live your life.
Yeah, like what's our quality of life? For example, here's how I kind of qualify the standard of living in the United States. By show of hands here, how many of you like ice cream? Oh man, I love ice cream. Nicole, what's your favorite flavor?
Probably chocolate chip cookie.
Oh, that's good. Mine's cookies and cream. But if I go to Martin's, for example, if I go to Weiss, I can walk an ice cream aisle as long as this room. There are so many choices of ice cream. And it's because we have a crazy good economy and because there's goods and services that are available for anybody who wants anything. We enjoy a high standard of living in this country. Most people aren't dying of chronic diseases. We've eliminated most of those things. Most people aren't going to bed hungry at night, although there are people in our country who are going to bed hungry at night. A high standard of living means people have a pretty good life. They want things to be better for their kids, and we make more money. Guys, we do this sometimes, unfortunately, on the backs of others. For example, if you had to guess where the cell phones for the batteries for our cell phones come from, anybody have any idea what part of the world they come from? Any guesses? It's a good guess. It's a good guess. Most of you have by show of hands, how many of you have an iPhone? Guys, you're carrying around a piece of Africa in your pockets right now. The majority of the cobalt that goes into the batteries of these phones is mined by children in Africa working basically under conditions where they probably will live to be about 30 years old due to things like radiation poisoning. I don't give you that to give you a guilt trip. These are things we got to work on. But we enjoy a really good standard of living in the West in this country and in most of North America, for example. If you had to guess, of course, according to Business Insider, what country enjoys the highest standard of living in the world?
Yes.
That's a good guess.
Oh no. Is it I forgot. Is it a European country?
It's not a European country, but you guys have good guesses. Anybody have a guess?
India?
Not India. Good guess. That's one of the most populated countries in the world, and also a powerhouse country. Anybody have a guess? If it's not the United States, where is it? It's a good guess too. Japan has one of the highest life expectancies in the world. According to Business Insider, we're number 6. Guys, in terms of where we go, Australia has been voted as having the highest standard of living in the world, and a big part of that reason is that we've got voter turnout of 93%. What we mean by that is people are taking active ownership of their country. They are being actively involved in their democracy. So as a bonus question for something like this, again, we will have Australia coming up as our number 1 country. So, all right, guys, in terms of other things, quality of life means how happy are people. Guys, I'm going to remind you, please don't be on your phones during class, please. Guys, in terms of quality of life, it means what do we enjoy in terms of our freedoms? What's our life expectancy? How good is life for us in general? What kinds of societies have we built? Although we got problems in the United States, we do. We still have a pretty good quality of life here. I'm going to ask you guys for your opinion, though, because you're going to be getting ready to enter the workforce sometime in the next 3 to 4 years. What defines quality of life to you? If you were to say what's important to you, what do you want your life to look like after college? Yes, ma'am. Stable job. Tell me more about that.
Like with the income where I would have, like, I feel like sustain a family, it would provide for them.
That's a great goal. I saw a hand back here. 3 times. So I'm not spending all my time at work. Guys, what else means a high quality of life to you? What else do you care about? I need to hear from this side of it. What do you care about in terms of quality of life? Any thoughts? Yes, sir. Tell me more about that, man. Like, how do you define happiness?
You wake up and you do live, you drag people to work or something like that.
Man, and all the time I've asked this question in class, nobody has ever said just the word happiness before. It's a fantastic answer. Who else has something they want to add to that? Yes?
Hopefully one day, like, pay my parents back, or, like, help them.
Man, I like you guys already. You guys are saying things that are very moral and ethical choices, guys. Anybody else have anything to add to that definition? Sir? Spirituality. So you are grounded in your faith and your relation to the hereafter, or whatever that may be. These are all good building blocks of a happy life. There's one thing I didn't hear anybody in this room say. I'm sorry? Yeah, I didn't hear it. Oh, I heard financial stability, but I didn't hear anybody say I want to be rich. So it's funny, guys. Rich people can be happy too, but you guys weren't rooted in money. You were rooted in things, meaning you're going to be working to live and have good lives outside of your jobs too. That's a changing philosophy with younger generations. My generation, for example, was obsessed with success, big things, big houses, and big cars. There's a reason why my generation, Generation X, was so saddled with things like credit card debt and big mortgages. Why have things changed? How many of you during the recession in 2008, if you can remember back that far, remember seeing somebody in your family lose their job? It was a tough time for a lot of people. A lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people got uprooted. Your generation has a basis in things that maybe are not so financially based, more about having good experiences in your life. So guys, in terms of how businesses work, that's a challenge because we have to make sure we're satisfying the employees' needs as well. Employees are one of the people we refer to as stakeholders in a company. A stakeholder is anybody who has a vested interest in what happens with a company. What happens to them affects us. For example, if you're a business, you got to know who are the people you affect. Who are the people who are important to you? We're here at St. Francis University right now in the middle of Loretto, Pennsylvania, in the middle of the snowy mountains, and we got all kinds of stakeholders. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But in terms of any given business, guys, these are all stakeholders. The people who own stock in your company, they technically own you. if you are a publicly traded company. Your customers, the people who buy from you, people who are affected by what you do, for example, environmentalists, people who sell your product, people who work for you, the government who regulates your business, the people who sell you stuff that you use to make your product, the people who represent you on television and radio, the media, the people who lend you money. These are all people who are either affected by you or will affect you. Therefore, they are stockholders, man. They're stakeholders, rather. St. Francis University, who are our stakeholders here? Who are the people who we have a vested interest in making happy or who are affected by the things that we do? Yes, sir. Alumni, for sure. Who else?
Teachers.
You better believe it, man. I'm a proud stakeholder in this company. Who else? I'm going to write that in all capital letters. Because you guys are the most important stakeholders in this university. We exist because of you. Is there another couple of important stakeholders that this university has? Who else is a stakeholder for St. Francis University?
Oh, the lunch ladies.
I'm sorry?
The lunch ladies.
The lunch ladies for sure, employees, right?
Yeah.
Are they nice?
They all right.
They have their days?
Yeah.
Who else? Coaches for sure. How about something that goes alongside the coaches? Who else? The athletes for sure. I'm going to put that in with students.
Trainers.
Trainers. Is there anybody else who's not even associated with St. Francis University who's affected by our athletics programs? Competition for sure. How about the fans? We have fans. St. Francis University is one of the largest entities in this region. Is there somebody in the community that's affected by us? You got it. Would this town exist in its current form without a university? There's nothing here. So we're talking about the town. We're talking about the businesses that sell to St. Francis students. We're talking about subcontractors. And the other thing you may or may not realize, with the stuff that happens on this campus, because we got entertainment, big speakers, all the stuff that comes in, the community treats this as a hub, guys. So we're important to the community as well. So when you're a business, you're not just affecting the people who work at your institution or the direct customers you serve. You're affecting other people as well. Bless you. And here's a way to think about it. If we've got a teacher who goes through an education program at St. Francis University and they go out to teach kids in an elementary school and they're a terrible teacher, it comes back on us as well. So the greater community are stakeholders as well. One of the biggest issues we're facing these days, the reason we were talking so much about NAFTA and Canada and Mexico, we're having this issue with outsourcing. All right, by show of hands here, if I could say that the word outsourcing is negative or positive. When I say outsourcing, how many of you see that as a positive word? When I say it, how many of you see it as a negative word? What is it associated with psychologically? People losing their jobs, right? Yeah, people losing their jobs. When you say nobody ever comes in, it's like there's certain things you never say with a certain tone of voice. Never come in and say, man, I got called to the principal's office. I got to go talk to the boss about disciplinary action. We're going to be outsourcing some jobs. Nobody likes to hear that. In reality, it's not a bad word. It's just a name for a term. We outsource stuff all the time. We outsource stuff to China because they can do things cheaper and more efficiently than we can. If you have a company, for example, St. Francis University outsources its food service to a group called Parkhurst Foods because it's less expensive for us to do that than to do it ourselves. And so we've got also something called insourcing, which is what President Trump is pushing for, is for more companies to bring operations back to the United States. It's a tough sell. How many of you have considered nonprofit employment after college? Nonprofit, what do you think of?
Duquesne University is a nonprofit.
Excellent. Yeah, guys, nonprofits are still businesses. We still process money, we still process transactions. But we do this with the intent of providing something that's not necessarily a profit. St. Francis University is what we refer to as a 501c3. We're a nonprofit. It means we're not allowed to make money. At the end of the year, we can break even. We're allowed to lose money. We can't make money. And in exchange for that, nonprofits, what's the biggest benefit to being a nonprofit? Other than living your mission, what's the biggest benefit? It's something you don't pay. What is it? You got it. And that's why nonprofits hold on to that status. By the way, did you know up until about 10 years ago, the NFL was a nonprofit organization? How did they pull that off? For decades, they were not paying taxes. Amazon, for many years, was finding ways not to pay taxes as well. So nonprofits typically are charities, educational organizations, etc. And guys, because of where we go there, in fact, we'll put that in next time. That is where we need to be for today. That's as much as I wanted to cover for today. So we're going to call it there. And guys, what I'm going to be asking, if you came in late, stay for a minute so I can get you on for attendance. And if today's your first day, give me a minute. We'll get you all set up. Have a nice weekend, guys.